Welcome back. The cat was pawing at the door. I was going to try to grab the cat for you. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Happy Friday. You made it. Welcome back to the, I don't even remember what we renamed the show to, but it's good to see you. Hit the like button. I've got a pretty heavy show for us lined up tonight. We're going to see a lot of war, a lot of combat footage. But first, we're going to review one of the stupidest things that I have seen, and I'd like to thank Josh for absolutely ruining my day. But before we get there, drop in the chat. Let me know where you guys are chiming in from. What's going on? Happy birthday. It's not my birthday. For the last time, I'm going to kill the music. Not my birthday. But jump into the chat. Let me know you guys are here. We got Montreal in the house. That didn't work. Turn the music off. Thank you. Montreal's in the house. Texas, Florida. Welcome in. Riverside, California. Virginia. I like it. Happy holidays. Weird. Okay. West Coast, Canada. Once again, not my birthday, guys. How we doing? Happy Friday. Yeah, I wanted to bring the cat in. It's the big fluffy one, too. The gray one. Not the fat one. The fat one is... She lays on my chest. Oh, my God. It's like a sack of potatoes. Quantico. What's going on? Ohio. OH. Pennsylvania. Oklahoma. Everywhere. We got folks from everywhere here. Like I mentioned, it's good to see you. Welcome back. I wanted to start tonight by essentially covering a little bit about the schedule. You know, most of you guys are aware that I still wear the uniform, a la no beard and a fresh haircut. And when I do have to report for that stuff, I have to travel. So our normal Friday nights, once a month, are going to be shifted to Wednesday nights. You know, that has always really been the case, but since I moved the live stream to once a week, that has kind of led to a little bit of confusion on the schedule. It should only be once a month that we have to do that. Ironically, the next time we will have to do a Wednesday stream is going to be next week. So next week's stream will be on Wednesday night rather than on Fridays. But every Friday, outside of those circumstances, will be right here, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard. And like I mentioned last Wednesday, we will probably be adding another day back to the stream. And when we drop down to a single day a week, one of the things I talked about is over time, as we begin to balance the other projects and efforts that we have going on, which I've got an update on here in just a second as well, we would continue to walk back towards as many nights a week that we could do this as possible, because there's plenty of footage for us to go through. Tonight is going to be a great representation of that. We will very likely go over our hour and a half tonight. We've got another huge release from the K2 54th Mech, the battle for the position Cyclops, a trench battle, a lot of close quarters combat in that, a lot of AGS work, a lot of context. Once again, we're going to see some historical footage tonight from the Battle of Mosul in Iraq, some Iraqi SOF, direct action against ISIS compounds, some pretty heavy footage. But we're also going to see some interesting footage out of Mexico. More specifically, Mexican cartels using drone guns against other cartels' drones. And the question I have for you before we get there, while you think about it, is how did they get those? They're not exactly something that's commercially available, but let's get started. Let's get started for the night. I want to review a piece of footage that Josh sent out just a few moments ago. I would like to introduce you to the Bullshido Master himself. Let's talk about a couple things here. First, on the premise that this is real, okay? Let's convince ourselves for a second that this is real. And just for like a why are we talking about this? This is the kind of stuff that goes viral. This has millions of views on YouTube right now. Millions of views. If we were to convince ourselves that this is real, that is an AR platform of some kind, there are no optics on it. It's pointed more or less directly at our Bullshido Master here. There's also a city in the background, presumably a neighborhood right here. So what you have effectively done, understanding your target and what's behind it, is sent around. Who knows how many times it took them to do this. Understanding, we're convinced right now that this is real. Understanding that this is probably not the first take. How many of those rounds would you have sent into that town? The suburban area there. Now, the more likely scenario is this is absolutely fake. But this is the kind of stuff that makes its way around YouTube, right? This is the kind of stuff that people pass around. Look, it can be done. And we're going to see another example of something like that relative to Ukraine a little bit later on. But I wanted to kind of ruin your day, and I'd like everybody to thank Josh very much for that fucking thing we just watched. Thanks, dude. Let's get started on our regular footage for tonight. You saved the city. Oh, God, here we go. Oh, God. My dog's barking. Sounds like the wife and kids are home. But I want to get started tonight with, last Wednesday I talked about a restructure of how we were going to do the live show. We're going to continue with that. Rather than jumping right into the top 10 videos, what we're doing is we're going to lead with what I'm calling the hot videos section. This is a kind of hand-selected set of videos from me that I think provide a lot of context, a lot of situational value. I choose this first section myself from the website. We don't alter the videos and just present them in the context that we have for it. We'll be following up with the top 10 from the app and website. Juan, thank you very much for the $2. Someone say happy birthday. It's not my birthday, man. Thank you for the $2, dude. Jacob, thank you for the $6.19. If I'm not mistaken, that was right before the stream. But let's get started. So we're going to start in Ukraine. We've got some contextual rich video here of what I want you to think about here when we're reviewing this. This specific video is less about what's happening and more about the situation, the environment. I would consider this to be not safe for work. There are going to be dead people in this video, but I think you're going to understand exactly what I mean when I say the environment. From a contextual perspective, these are trenches in Bakhmut. I'm going to bump the quality here. Coming up now.
Давайте, рассосались, дистанция! Давай! Я пошел! Движение? Да. Давайте. Ну с той стороны. Давай, да, быстрее. Двигаемся. Фу. Сейчас. Рух. Стоп! Стоп, да, стоп. Еще двое. Еще двое. Влад. Нихуя. Хо-хо. Да, идем, 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 идем. Отсосали.
Браво-1 приняли?
All right, that's just about the end of this one. Let's bring it back up and let's talk about this. A lot of comments in the chat about, you know, World War I, and I talk about this a lot, and it's something you guys will hear me, to a certain extent, repeat myself on a few things. Just there are a lot of folks that new folks that come swing by the stream, you know, that might not have been here before. One of the things that I continue to try to remind people of, though, is the correlation with World War I only goes so far. Yes, it's still trenches. You'll see footage, images of Bakhmut, of, you know, these cities and towns that look like historical photos of prior wars. But what you have to imagine in a modern conflict or in a modern war is modern weaponry, modern tactics, modern maneuverability. What comes along with that is precision. There are drones that can hit you in the face, laden with explosives. There are entire multiple launch rocket systems that have a circular error probable of down to 5 meters, you know, meaning that you're even more of a sitting duck in trenches than ever. The level of brutality of trench warfare can't be understated. Now, speaking of modern precision weapons, though, there's a reason I wanted to talk about that. Something that was brought up in some of the security packages, and under most circumstances, we review all of the security packages that were being sent to Ukraine. I haven't had a chance over the last couple weeks to double check on those. You know, I'm probably behind on one or two of the packages. But one of the things that was announced were JDAM kits. Now, JDAM is oftentimes confused for a bomb itself, when in actuality, what it is a kit that you can put on a bomb. It's known that JDAM kits were received by Ukraine, and this next video here is believed to be a JDAM strike, a Ukrainian JDAM strike in Bakhmut. Gonna keep the sound off for this one. We've been getting slapped by copyright. We're gonna watch it once through, and then I'm gonna slow it way down for us. Because you can actually see the munitions falling. Let's watch it again. I'm going to put it on quarter speed here. And it is, I want to say, the third munition that you can see fall right here. Might have to put your nose up to your phone screen, though. Unless we already missed it. There it is. Question from Cull. Are the JDAM kits JDAMs that are kitted to fit Ukrainian aircraft and drones? Yes. Jeremy, thank you for the $20. Happy birthday, brother. Army leads the way. All the way. Rachel, thank you for the $10. Ronnie, I only have $10 in my account, but knowing it's your birthday, I know you deserve it more than me. Rachel, thank you so much for your $10. I really, truly, honestly hope that's not your last $10 because it's not my birthday. I've told you guys before that one of these days, someone's going to, you know, out of the generosity of their heart, decide to send in a couple dollars, fully believing that it's my birthday, and then I'm going to be the asshole. All right? It's not my birthday. Rachel, thank you so much for the $10. All right, let's move to our next one here. This next was actually really interesting. A Miklik, a mine-laying charge being used against Russian positions. in Bakhmut. We're still in Bakhmut right now. We're going to shift to Kreminna next. And what's even more interesting about this is that it's thermal footage. Now, we'll talk about it while it's going. Angles really screwed me up on this one. I did not expect it to be going that direction. Big bada boom. Now what that effectively is a line charge. I want to say it's the M77. It's fired from here and is a line of explosives that would, under normal circumstances or under its designed use, clear out a swath in a minefield. We've seen Russia use their version of the Miklik against Ukrainian positions, and now we are seeing Ukrainians using mine clearing line charges against Russian positions. Big boom. All right, let's bring it up. Checking in on the chat here for a second. Someone set off a mini nuke. Not quite. Totally looked perpendicular to that line. Yeah. The first time I watched it, I had to go back and watch it a couple times. It's like Angelina Jolie'd it or something. Let's move into Kreminna, right? So we saw footage of Ukrainians using the JDAM kits. And again, the JDAM is not a munition itself. It is ultimately a kit that provides a dumb bomb guidance to make it a smart bomb. What we're going to see here is we're going to flip the coin over for a second. A really heavy strike. Probably a fab munition. Can't be certain, though. Against, reportedly, Ukrainian positions near the Kreminna Svatova line. Bumping the quality. Coming up now. Now you'll see two explosions there. If I recall correctly on this video, the second explosion is a sympathetic detonation of ammunition. But I don't recall the exact specifics on this one. Tommy, thank you for the 20. Happy 5 months until your birthday. Birthday's a little ways out. I appreciate it very much. Mossy, thank you for the 1238 or 10. Another week, another birthday. I have a pint on all of us from 29 Commando UK. Keep up the great work, Ronnie. Work those short shorts. Always. Listen, I don't have anything to prove, and short shorts are comfortable. It is what it is. The next one here is going to be discretion advised. Okay. What you're going to see is actually a very interesting and confusing video. And I'm going to describe it for you first. Oftentimes when we see thermal footage, it's pretty grainy. It's difficult to truly tell what you're seeing. We're going to see some very clear Russian thermal footage, Russian sniper targeting Ukrainian soldiers. Discretion's advised on this one because presumably in the video what we're going to see is 2 Ukrainian troops getting hit. What's interesting is that there's a cut. There's a frame slice in here somewhere. And I don't want to give away too much because, honestly, it's hard to discern what's going on here. Video's coming up for you now. Let's start it over. So there's that weird cut. Now, again, this is supposedly Russian sniper footage, and what you're seeing, the view that you're seeing here is through a spotter scope, not necessarily from the shooter, right? Otherwise, we would see, you know, recoil impulse of some kind in the video feed. What's interesting, though, is at a certain point in the shot here, when the round presumably impacts, there's a frame or a few frames missing of some kind. So that first round appears to potentially deflect off of something, or I don't know, once again straight out of an Angelina Jolie movie. And then there's a missing frame. And then that guy falls. And then there's an additional shot followed up right there. Now, this isn't a situation where, you know, it's something that I would personally call, quote, fake. You know, I would more or less say that this is doctored in a certain way. For the life of me, though, and even as someone who has, you know, kind of put together things like this to be out in the information environment, I can't truly understand what the desired intent of doctoring it this way would be, outside of just generally wanting to make it look like the shot was successful. But the round inbound on the Ukrainian troop hit. So I'm not sure why there's that splice there. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Swing and a miss, that's why. Okay. Seemed to clip his shoulder just barely. No, that first round, yeah. You see that deflect off of something. Bragging rights, okay. Greetings from Denmark. Thank you for the 100, which is 1466. Keep up the great work. Thank you for being here. Don't know, Ryan. No clue. Yeah, I was quite honestly interested in everybody's opinion on that one. I can't for the life of me tell why I just can't discern the desired effect of this. All right, let's move on. So we've got an interesting one. Something that I would like, you know, to point out for everybody is on our Twitter. I have been much more active in posting actual footage. So please, if you guys aren't following our Twitter, please jump over there and check that out. This is actually the next video that we're going to review here. What you're going to see here is reportedly, and this is from Russian sources, from Russian Telegram sources, I should say, footage of the aftermath of a Ukrainian strike in Donetsk. Now, the original source reported that 7 civilians were killed, and at least one of the rounds of, quote, shelling, not entirely sure what shelling means, landed next to a bus of some kind. Again, we try to just show you the raw footage, give you the context with which it was put out into the environment, and hopefully allow us, we, the people, to come to our own conclusions rather than being reliant on somebody in mainstream media controlled by some corporation to decide what it is we should care about. Here's the footage.
В автобусе были мирные жители, погибли. В автобусе были мирные жители, погибли.
Tater Salad, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome. Where was this clip taken from? Let's talk more about it. I'm just want to make sure I'm clarifying what we're watching here. What you're watching here is footage from Donetsk. Donetsk is, of course, Ukrainian ground that is currently held by Russians and has been for quite some time. This was reported by Russian Telegram sources as a Ukrainian strike in Donetsk. And more specifically, they stated that 7 civilians at the time, which was a minimum, were killed. One round of which landing close to that bus. Now, I saw a comment in the chat about, where's the impact crater? Well, it is presumably the bus rolled a little bit after getting hit, if it did get hit. But again, our function and focus, our fundamental mission is not necessarily to tell you what to think about any of this footage. It is to show it to you as individuals, individual people, human beings. Myself, Josh, Will, Funker, anybody on the team, we have our own individual biases. Sometimes I allow mine to slip out a little bit too heavily. But as an overarching mission, our goal is not to tell you what to believe about the footage. It's to show it to you and give you the context of how it was originally reported. So, checking in on the chat here for a moment. Tater Salad, thanks again for hitting the member button. Appreciate that very much. Tater Salad, thank you again for the 1466. Noah, thank you for the $5. Have you seen the Ukrainian painted Bradleys yet? They look pretty sick. Yeah, speaking of Twitter, I actually tweeted out a whole photo album of them. Yeah, they're pretty drippy. They look pretty good. I want one really bad. Also, it's a tank, so we can fight about it in real life if you like. Mossy, thanks again for the 1238. Tommy, thank you again for the 2. All right, let's shift though. We've got a lot of footage to get through tonight. Like I said, I think we're going to end up going over speaking of those photos, I'll just go ahead and show you guys some of them now. Just to help you understand the context of what we're talking about. So here are some of those Bradleys. Now, this is reportedly in a training area in Ukraine. There's not really, we don't do a whole lot of geolocation ourselves. But that paint job's starting to look pretty good. There was a concern when the Abrams were announced that they were going to essentially receive those in that flat, dark earth, tan color scheme. But I've tweeted out a couple, updated photos of the Ukrainian color scheme since. All right, let's come up. Jason, thank you for the $5. Russia's already shown they will accidentally bomb their own city. Talking about Belgorod, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Maybe they just accidentally shelled one of their own cities. It's been a running theme and a running narrative for quite some time that Ukraine kind of continuously shells Donetsk. I've kind of talked about that before. That's a predisposition, predisposed bias. So it is, if there is already, some modicum of understanding that something has taken place, reinforcing that is going to be very effective from an information warfare perspective. Not necessarily saying that this strike is in any way information warfare, because I don't know. It could very well be, it could not be. But historically speaking, it is relatively commonly known that Ukraine does fire artillery of some kind into Donetsk. We have also seen footage, and Ukraine has released footage of them dropping drone drop grenades in Donetsk. But let's shift. We're going to move. The next one that we have here is from somewhere in Ukraine. I thought this one was just interesting. This is one of the most recorded wars, if not the most recorded war, the most documented war that we've ever seen. And what you're going to see here is a great indication of that. A Russian soldier surrendering to a bunch of cell phones pointed at him.
Вон он уже, да. А я, блядь, его проебал, нахуй. Це вояка, блядь. Да, ползет. Ты сами, блядь.
Ползет, пидор. Пленный. Нарядный. Снарядный.
Torque, thanks for the $5. I'll cover that right after the video.
Давай.
Якутський бурят, блядь.
Якут. Печально чуть-чуть.
От сюдою, блядь, от сюдою.
Все, ти ходь, ти хай залазить.
Забирай, блядь, забирай все вот это. Все,
забрал.
Алло. Ложись. Руки ко мне вытягивай.
Да.
Руки в замок. Ползешь.
Нормально, хай
Ползёшь,
не стріляють, я забрав плену. Давай, наберу позже. Давай.
Отстегивай ему
На
пояс.
фільмі доповіди.
Отстегивай пояс, блядь. Пацаны, муху заберите оттуда.
Yeah, so a piece of footage like that is going to cause, plenty of people to say fake. Why would they be, more than likely they're just recording that to record it, right? There's no indication that that's fake, to be quite honest with you, just to give you my personal perspective. There was a question in the chat. Torque, thank you very much for the $5. Ronnie, talk about the 200 and 300 mean. Talk about what, words are tough. Talk about what the 200 and 300 mean for those that don't know what it means. So he's referring specifically to radio codes that both Ukraine and Russia use for 200 and 300. When a call comes over the radio and says, we've got 300. The 300 is code for 1 wounded. The 200 is for KIA, or killed. So if you hear 1 code 200 or 1 code 300, 1 killed or 1 wounded. Let's move, though. This next one is really interesting. For those that aren't familiar with satchel charges, satchel charge is an extremely effective, if you can get close enough, way to clear a barricaded shooter. Now, what we're going to see here, and I don't know exactly where this took place in Ukraine, but it was in Ukraine somewhere. We're going to see a Ukrainian run up on a presumable Russian position, toss a satchel charge into it, and a very large explosion occurs shortly following. One more time. See if we've got some... Nope, that's the best quality we've got. All right, let's bring it up. So we've got plenty more Ukraine footage to review. Like I've mentioned in the past and kind of repeatedly, we cover use of force footage. It's the best way to put that. War, but it's not just war. It's use of force. Law enforcement use of force, self-defense use of force, from all over the globe. I've got a couple other videos that I want to take a look at here. The very first going to be from Mexico. Before we get into our top 10, which is primarily consists of Ukraine war footage. This first one's actually very interesting, especially with a lot of the challenges that the U.S. is having on its southern border. And more specifically, it's very interesting relative to the technical capabilities of the cartels. Drone guns are something that are emerging, especially with the propagation of the use of drones to not just drop munitions. That was popularized by ISIS in 2015, 2016. They would drop it on everything. But also in the use as a warfighting function for like command and control. And in my opinion, that's the true novelty here. Now, what I haven't really seen is any actual successful footage of one of these drone guns being used. There's one video that we reviewed here on the live show a few weeks back that indicated, and I don't remember whether it was Russian or Ukrainian, that they were bringing down a drone, but it was in such a siloed circumstance, I couldn't really tell whether it was, for lack of a better term, propaganda or not. What you're going to see here are cartels using drone guns against other cartels' drones. And the question that I have for you is where'd they get them? Because these drone guns, which, if I understand their use correctly, essentially jam frequencies to the operator so that the drone essentially just floats down to the ground. But they're not really mass-produced and not really commercially available. Video's coming up for you guys now. Gonna keep the sound off for this one as well. Now you'll note that they, once again, are not very effective. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. Just scattering. Your local gynecologist, thank you for the 5. Are you going to play the video of the Ukrainian S-400s getting blown up? Probably not. We probably won't get to that one tonight, but there are quite a few of those Lancet videos posted to the website. Yeah, we've kind of covered most of the non-top 10 footage from Ukraine tonight that we're going to, because we've got some long ones coming up soon. Again, another 3, I want to say 7-minute videos released from the 54th Mech, providing that real, true, overarching context of the entirety of a battle, not just that little 15-second snip. I mean, if you really want to see, here's Ukrainian Tor M1 getting hit by a Lancet drone. There you go. Cecil, thank you for the $2. And excuse me, that is a German armor. Radar. Wow. Nobody said I was smart. V-Hawk, thank you very much for hitting the membership button. Appreciate that. Now, the last one before we get into our top 10 footage is actually some wild footage. I have this in our historical section, one of the categories of footage that we absolutely love to find and document. Again, our function and focus is not to be a news team for you. We are not a news team. It is to document footage of war. So if you ever wanted to see what Iraqi SOF assaulting an ISIS compound in the battle for Mosul in 2016 to 2017 was, you know where you can find it.
المشاهدون هذا الداعشي تم قتله.
All right, let's bring it back up. Wrong button. One of these days, after over a year of doing this stream and after, I don't know, this is my 5th year of live content overall, I'll learn how to use my equipment. I promise I will. Parker, thanks again for becoming a member. Actually, I don't think I said thank you yet for that. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that, man. checking in on the chat here for a minute before we get into our top 10 most watched videos on the app and website. Now, I want to go back to a question that was asked. Are you going to show X video or Y video? I do my best to show you as much from a relevance perspective in this, early part of the stream as possible. Something I will never be able to do is show you everything. That's ultimately, hopefully, if we are able to get to it as a small team, we purposefully try to stay small. What the website is for. Again, we are not just a YouTube channel. We started out that way, but our primary focus and function is the app and the website as an extension now of the app. There are over 400,000 downloads of the Funker530 app. We have more downloads of our app than the Politico app. That's because there is a real desire for people to see the raw footage, right? Too many times do you see this little 10-second snippet of something that took place with an agenda spin on it from your mainstream media. We just want you to see the footage and how it was initially put into the information environment. And I use words like information environment because I'm not afraid to admit that once upon a time, my job was information operations. My job was to craft things in war to change the cognitive space. That was my function and focus. So it is extremely personally important for me, the mission that we do, to show you the raw footage. Okay? We're going to see one a little bit later on. We're going to talk about propagation of false narratives. We'll see that here in just a little bit. It's one of our top 10 videos. But let's get started on the top 10 for the night. Number 10. This is actually, it's dark humor, but kind of humorous. Dark humor is ultimately just a coping mechanism. We're going to see a Russian journalist. This has about 28,000 views on the website and app so far. Nearly die. He doesn't. But if he had a couple extra pancakes that day, he might have. I'll help you understand why here in just a second. That man just ran over an anti-tank mine. That's what that was. Now, the video is trying to point certain things out to you, like this vehicle that's already blown up. And this anti-tank mine here.
Я проехал по танковой мине, блядь.
The only reason that didn't detonate, didn't explode, is largely because of weight. That's it. Now, he's presumably describing how he just nearly was killed to this guy. I don't speak Russian.
И она не сдетонировала, бля. В заднем наехал бы точно въебал.
Alright, let's bring it back up. He just goes on to talk more and more about it and continues to ride his e-bike. Oh. Bringing it up. That was number 10 on the app and website. Again, 28,000 views on that one. This next one, I would consider this next one, under normal circumstances, to be a discretion advised type video. What you're going to see here is at least the makings of a Ukrainian fragging a Russian that is hiding under a tank. The original source of this video did some blurring or some weird cutting of the video, so you don't actually see the frag. But this is our number 9 most watched video on the app and website. It's important for me to note each time that I do this, I take these just straight from our trending videos section. It's coming up for you guys now. No sound to this one. You can see that that tank has a mobility kill. Oh, goodness. That tank had a mobility kill already. And track was off. Let's bring it back up. Take a closer look at the situation here. Button. Thank you. Track off here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's a hatch underneath. He's got maybe a space blanket on under there. All right, coming back up. There's like a delay for some reason on my stream deck to change scenes. So that was number 9. That has just under 29,000. Number 8 here. We've got some heavy stuff coming up. You know, just discretion advised as we get closer towards the top end of the top 10 here. There's some tough stuff to watch coming up. But this one here, we're going to talk about false narrative propagation. What that essentially means is exactly how it sounds. This wasn't published as any kind of propaganda video. It was published as a training video. What ends up happening, though, is Anon1 on Twitter shares it. I think this is Ukrainians clearing out a trench of Russians. Then Anon2 retweets that with the same thing, and it eventually propagates until it becomes some form of gospel. What you're going to watch here is a video that made its way around social media, claiming to be Ukrainians clearing a trench of Russians. In actuality, what this is a training video. It was initially released as a training video. Coming up now. No sound to it, though. Is live ammo usually used during training? Absolutely. The closer you can get to emulating real-life situations in training, the better training it is. You know, the U.S. military trains with live rounds all the time. Ask anyone that was in the military, Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force. Live fire training is once again, the closer you can get to emulating real life, the better training it's going to be. Train as you fight, yeah. And that was number 8. So again, that was, you know, the term that I would use for that is false narrative propagation. I wouldn't call this video propaganda. I would say that this, based on where we found it from the original source, it was published as a training video. And that's the difference between, you know, a false narrative and propaganda itself. It wasn't made as propaganda. It was made to be a training video, or to at least document training. But it was shared around as a false narrative. All right. This one's a scary one. What you're going to see is a trench fight. And our Ukrainian's going to take a round to the helmet here. Now, all indications are that the Ukrainian survives this. I can't say that for 100% certainty, but video's coming up for you now. This is our number 7 most watched video on the app and website.
Пидор, скажи, ёбаный в рот, блядь.
Еще одну хуярь.
All right, we're going to bring this one up. It's quite a long video. You guys can find the link for that in the stream description. Again, that's number 7. We've got some long ones to get through here in just a little bit. In 2 more videos, more specifically. We're going to see an update from Predator. Most of you guys, first I'm going to show the original clip that kind of brought the name Predator forward as somewhat of a pseudo-celebrity status based on his exploits, more specifically defending his trench from a danger-close assault. We're going to watch the beginning portion of that original video to provide the context of the individual to the actual number 6 most watched video on the app and website. That first video is coming up in just a minute. Now, this one broke a few weeks ago, really made its way around, and we've got the HD version coming up for you guys now. Here you go. This is not our number 6 most watched. This is for additional context. That was not a Scar, that was a Bren. Welcome back, Ralph. We've already seen this, Ryan. As I mentioned, we are watching this to provide context for the number 6 most watched video.
Автомат, автомат, автомат! Мой автомат дай! Да, мой. Во, пидоры лезут! Пидоры лезут!
Okay, so this one is linked. It's about a 9-minute total video, but I wanted to show you that to give you the perspective of when, you know, I tell you that this next one is of Predator, once again, receiving shrapnel, fragmentation, more accurately. Shrapnel was a dude, fragmentation is what hit him. In this next video, which is our number 6 most watched video on the app and website. Like I mentioned early on, though, and just like every stream, if you guys want, if we stop one of these videos short, check the stream description either now or towards the end of the stream, and I have linked each of these videos in the stream description. Here is that video of Predator taking fragmentation. Very high quality video, too.
Тихо, 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 тихо. А, блядь! Я 300! А! Ах ты, сука!
Я 300-й. Куда, Русь?
Раз, два, три, 4. 4 осколка.
Давай, блядь,
Нормально, нихуя не надо, подожди. А, тут хуй да нихуя. Сука, ранила нахуй.
All right. So again, and that was Predator. There was a question in the chat. I remember Predator. Did he survive? Yes, that was him. Now I don't speak Ukrainian. I don't speak Russian. I am able to discern that he's counting. For the life of me, though, and I didn't get a chance to kick this out to the Discord community that would have happily translated it for us. But I am under the assumption that potentially he is saying that he might have taken 4 pieces of fragmentation. Not entirely sure here. I'm sure there might be a Russian speaker, or excuse me, somebody fluent in Ukrainian in the chat to help us better understand that. But that was our number 6 most watched video on the app and website. And it had just over 32,000 views. Now this next one, this is going to be one of those instances where we watch the entirety of a battle take place, right? So this next video, series of videos, it's 3 specifically, the third part of which was just released today, is from the K2, or from K2, the 54th Mechanized Brigade, or Battalion. I might be getting one of those wrong, but it's from K2. They have their own Telegram, and they released the battle for that T position last week or the week before. I did an entire video breakdown of that series of videos. I might do the same for this one. We're going to watch all 3. Now, I might cut some of those a little bit short, but not without, not to reduce the context. This part 2 is our number 5 most watched video. So we're going to watch part 1, then we're going to watch part 2, which is our number 5 most watched video, and then we're going to watch the newly released part 3. Now, this is going to be some heavy footage. Discretion is advised. War happens in this footage. I'm going to check in on the chat while I get that pulled up for us. Part 1 coming up in just a moment. Jacob, thank you very much for the 10. Sooner or later, one of these days, it's going to be your birthday. Yeah, it will. Thanks very much for the 10. One day it'll come and the jokes will be on you. Thanks very much for the 10, sir. Part 1 of the battle for Position Cyclops, which ultimately is going to be once again, a small trench line coming up for you now. This first one's about an 8-minute watch here. Now, something that you're going to note about a lot of these releases is most of, if not all, of the audio is edited in after the fact. At least that would be my best take on it. Just given how Mavics record audio and the proximity to what's taking place. Episode 3 of this came out today. Yep, we'll be reviewing it. Wow. DC Williams, thank you for the 100. Appreciate that very much. That's a lot of dollars. Thank you so much for that. Brent's question, is this position an OP? Difficult to say. I mean, a lot of the footage, including the T-junction footage that we saw, limited from a personnel perspective. So, to a certain extent, you can probably say yes, right? But we'll see in episode 3 of this tonight, the destination position, which they labeled Cyclops. That was their objective name for whatever reason. Yeah, I wouldn't say every position is an OP. That's kind of why I went with the total personnel. You know, OPs being more remote. You know, a cop or is different than a fob. Eric. Thank you for the comment. Your lack of morality is disgusting. Death is your thing? Question mark. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword. Stop it. We've been covering war since 2007. You want war to continue to be misunderstood by the public, by the populace, so that we can continue to make stupid decisions and throw men, women into it? No, stop it. Relax. There's a discretion in front of every stream. Let's move on to number 2. So that was part 1. Now, the reason I showed you guys part 1 is we're going through our top 10 videos posted to the app and website over the last 7 days. Part 2 of that series is actually number 5 of our top 10, but we're going to follow that up with part 3, which was released today. And if it's not made it to the website yet, you guys are going to catch it before it makes it to the website. Part 2 coming up for you guys now. This is our number 5 most watched video on the app and website. It picks up right where the last left off. Once again, discretion's advised on this, right? It's a difficult balance trying to help people truly understand and have a better, let me back up, trying to help people have a better understanding of what war looks like. Balancing that with not dehumanizing ourselves is always going to be difficult. Somebody's got to do it. Here you are. So this is the one that we might cut a little bit short. From a context perspective, they end up just really peppering this position over and over and over again. Everything from drone drop grenades to artillery like we're seeing now. Because I definitely want to make sure we have time to review Part 3, which is newly released today. That's going to show the difficulties of clearing a trench. The addition of the spoon popping there. Well, welcome in, Samble. Part 3 is out. We'll be watching it right after this. Savagely, that's an interesting comment. Love your AR-15s, America. To be quite honest, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is one of the best justifications for America's Second Amendment that I've ever seen. There were lines of people for blocks to receive a bare-ass AK. There's irony there. In fact, I have 3 ARs within a 5-meter radius of me right now. You're lucky I can't afford that many. I'm just fiscally irresponsible. That's all it is. So what you see here is, you know, quite obviously, if you're just joining us, this is the beginning of the ground assault of Position Cyclops. Part 3 was just released today, which is going to be coming up here in, you know, just about 30 seconds or so. That's going to take us through Ukraine's eventual capture of this position. Now, part 3 is an interesting isn't the best word for me to use for it. Part 3, we're going to see casualties, both Russian and Ukrainian. We're going to see grenades being tossed at each other, extreme close quarters combat. We're going to essentially see the culmination of this fight. It was just released today, and if we haven't gotten it up on the website, we did tweet it out today. I did. I've taken to running our Twitter, and we're posting a lot more footage on Twitter nowadays, given some of the freedoms that are being opened up there to share things that are happening across the globe, not just war, but things that are happening in politics, things that are happening in our towns that under other circumstances might be blocked by the Facebooks and the YouTubes. I have a YouTube video breaking down the entirety of the situation in Sudan that is currently being sat on by YouTube for its review process. Twitter is actually doing a lot, opening up freedom of speech, freedom of information. And I'm actually one of those folks that's having a great time on it. I'm learning a lot more about things that I've always wanted to know about that were suppressed. Right? All the conspiracies were true. Let's jump into part 3. Now, just to back up for a second, the reason we went through part 1 and 2, part 2, we're in our top 10 videos section. Part 2 was our 5th most watched video on the app and website. I want to say it had just north of 40,000 views. No, just north of 35,000 views. Part 3, let's see if we've gotten that on the website, and we'll watch it from the website. Not just yet. We'll probably have that up soon, though. So we're going to head to our Funker530 Twitter and watch it from there. So this has not yet made it to the website, but like I mentioned, it was just released today. Coming up now. London Water, thank you very much. Before we get into the heavy part of this video, I want to check through some of the support. Thank you very much for the 5. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Paul, thank you very much for the 10. Thank you to you and the entire Funker team. More need to see real war to understand just how terrible it really is. Also, happy birthday. Not my birthday, but I do agree with the former part of the statement. Absolutely. That's kind of what we hope happens from both the stream, app, and website. Far and wide, thank you very much for the 10. Thanks for discretion advised warnings. Just listen to your commentary. Thanks for being here. Those wondering what just happened, a Ukrainian was just killed by small arms there. This Russian just got hit in the helmet. So what it's pointing out now, and the reason that the Ukrainians aren't advancing, is this barricaded shooter. Or multiple. Let's bring it up. So, you know, kind of once again, this stream isn't meant to be sunshine and rainbows. Every so often we'll have some humorous footage or something to watch, and I'm not trying to preach to you. I'm really not. Our fundamental function is to show the world on whatever platforms we have raw footage, right? On YouTube, the reason we started doing this stream wasn't necessarily because any one of us wanted to live stream this stuff. It was because we were starting to get hammered really hard by YouTube for not providing context. Now, when we talked with our YouTube partner manager, one of the things that they mentioned is, you know, you should break the footage down. You should, you know, provide visual context to it as well. And, you know, as a small team, we don't have the graphic editing capabilities to do, you know, a la Dark Docs kind of stuff. So what we came up with, and this would have been November-ish of 2021, was potentially doing a live stream to talk about some of the footage that we're posting on the app and on the website. What that grew into is what you guys see here, is a show where we're doing exactly that, trying to help people see what war looks like, so that hopefully the right people see it and make better decisions in relation to it. War is gross. It's nasty. We are just bags of meat that when you poke it, bad things happen. These are people, humans on the ground. And again, I'm not trying to preach to you, but that's what we're showing you. And there's a reason that we do that. Nope. Other, you know, outlets out there are going to try and spin this stuff one way or another. You know, and like I mentioned earlier, we have our own, as individuals, biases. The Funker team does. We each have our own thoughts. Imagine if all of your, just to add on to that, if all of your beliefs and thoughts fit neatly into one little box worth of a political party, they're no longer yours. You know, our team doesn't watch the news, and we don't do so on purpose, because a 10-second clip of this might have made its way to the news with whatever agenda that they were trying to push today. The stream is an important part of what we do, but our fundamental focus will always be the app. Let's move on, though. So that was part 2 was number 5. We've still got plenty to get through. We got at least 5 videos to get through. We're already over our time. I told you guys we were going to go over our time tonight. This next one might be difficult to watch as well. What you're going to see here, relatively poor from a quality perspective, but it's going to be pretty easy to discern what happens. This is drone footage of a Russian soldier essentially taking a whole lot of small arms. Coming up for you now. So if you're kind of trying to figure out what happened here, this Russian soldier here, this Ukrainian position here. All right, coming back up. That was number 4. And that video has 41,000 views on the app and website. This next one, another. As we get higher in this list of top 10 videos, I mean, most folks here can kind of understand what morbid curiosity means, that gladiatorial desire to see combat. We get more and more, or higher and higher, on the discretion advised spectrum. This is going to be one of those. What you're going to see here is a Russian soldier essentially catch a drone drop grenade. It's going to be tough to watch. Here you go. Again, these are the top 10 videos I do not select. I take them straight from our trending videos section. A lot of the comments about, death being our thing. I talked about balance earlier, and I don't think I did a great justice. There are lines, right? We don't do executions because that's not combat footage. That doesn't help you understand war. That helps you understand terrorism. We don't do a whole lot of aftermath, right? A lot of what Russia produces is really just heavy aftermath type footage. Just shows dead bodies laying around. Dead bodies is context. And what war footage typically comes with are casualties. But it's still not combat footage. We want people to see maneuver. We want people to see what it looks like to take a trench, to see what it looks like to defend a trench. But it's always a balance, right? How do you draw the line between what to show that day and what not to? And we are always trying to figure out what that looks like. I guess where I'm going with this is if you guys are out in, social media space and you see something that you think meets our fundamental mission of documenting the reality of war, tag us in it. Send it to us, right? That happens quite a bit. We're a small team. We don't catch everything. Let's get into our top 2. That last one we just watched had 54,000 views over the last 7 days. This next one, more trench footage. Discretion's advised once again. As we get higher up that most watched list, we go further and further up the gross spectrum. War's nasty. It sucks. It does. What you're going to see here is, once again, close combat. A Ukrainian closes distance on a Russian that has kind of holed up in this little side area of a trench, this cut-in. And the Ukrainian comes away from the day. Coming up. So again, that was a Ukrainian clearing a Russian out of a cut-in of a trench there. That video has 55,000 views on the app and website. Now we're at our number 1 most watched video on the app and website. What you're going to see here is near Avdiivka. Avdiivka is actually a place that I'm paying very close attention to. You know, I won't go into too much detail on why. I happen to know somebody that's near there. You're going to see a Ukrainian sniper team hitting a Russian soldier from some distance pretty cleanly. Discretion's advice.
Вроде 300. Все, плюс. Работает, шевелит. Все. Там же эвакуировать, вводить через турецкий мост. Все, я...
Coming up. The cow is okay. I want to thank everybody once again for all of their support that's been coming across tonight. That just means so much. Thank you for it. This stream is and will always be free. Thank you for your generosity, though. I've got one more video for you to watch. I just thought this one was helps you understand that you should never be a victim. We are finished with our top 10 for the night. We're going to watch this one while I go through the rest of that support that's been coming in throughout the stream tonight, and then we'll bring it back up and close things out. Choose not to be a victim. London, thanks again for the $5. Paul Smalzer, thank you for the 10. Farmwide, thank you for the $10. DC Williams for $100. Thank you again for that. Jacob, thank you for the 10. Cecil, thank you for the 2. Your local gynecologist for $5. Torek, thank you for the 5, sir. Jason, thank you for the 5. Tater Salad for $14.66. Noah, thank you for the 5. Bob, thank you for that 2 that just came in. Saint, thank you for the $5. And thank you to everybody that sent some in. A ton of support, generosity coming in tonight. And I just don't have the words to express how appreciative we are. I wish I had better words. London, thank you for the 5. My favorite part of this video is that part right there. All right, let's bring it up. Guys, that's going to close it out for us. We went a little bit over our hour and a half. I appreciate you. You know, I might get a little preachy at times. I'm not trying to. It's just me trying to express our thought process behind why we do what we do. And what comes with that is kind of for lack of any better way of me to describe it, a moral position or duty, almost, if you will, to really help people truly understand what war looks like. You know, I'll say that until I'm blue in the face. But I'm out of here. We're going to jump over to the other stream where we've got, I've got an announcement to make. Something pretty big for our family. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next week back here if you don't want to come over and hang out with us on the other stream where maybe we'll have a beer, kick back and talk for a little bit, raise some money for veterans. But next week, we'll be back here, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard on Wednesday. Wednesday next week. Wednesday. Go be great and stay informed.